So, good afternoon, and it is afternoon. I'm just heading out to go and play poker. I managed to go and negotiate a pass to go and play this evening, tonight, up in central London, so we'll probably be aiming for the Empire. And some of my poker peers thought it would be quite a good idea to do a post on the similarities and differences between playing during the day, which I predominantly do, and the evening, nighttime poker, to look at how the game dynamics might actually change, sort of the nature of the games, and all that sort of stuff. So that's the aim for this evening, and we'll get back to you later with a bit of feedback and maybe some hands that might have actually played out differently during the day compared to an evening session. But I'll speak to you all later. Okay, see ya. Right, 6 o'clock, I'm in London, just coming into Leicester Square. Just going to walk past the Hippodrome Casino and then head down towards the Empire Casino, which is just down here on the right hand side. Nice and buzzy, the rain's just stopped, which is good. People are out and about, just finishing work, going out for the evening, theatre district, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll get some action, some players coming in for a bit of recreation and stuff like that, and hopefully we can play well, get into good spots and enjoy ourselves this evening. So just coming down to the Empire here, and we'll catch up later. Okay, well, just walking out of the Empire, did about 3 hours, about 9:30. It's dark, and actually, yeah, it was a bit tight really, fairly nitty. A lot of the sort of more reggae type players that you see in and around place during the day. Just a few guys starting to come in now, having a few drinks and splashing around a bit, but unfortunately I had to head off. It's very quiet sort of evening really, about £60 down. No real excitement for me, but it's one of those where you just have to just keep on concentrating and playing your game, and waiting for the hands basically. And it was a bit, I'll just have to keep on going and see what happens. A couple of hands that came out of it I'll probably post as part of this. So anyway, catch you guys later. And it's raining again in London. So in the end it was a quiet evening for me at the Empire, but it was a busy one for the casino. All of the tables were full. I think there was 8 cash tables, all 1-2, and 1 tournament table going on. So it was busy for them. I thought there was one hand that I'm going to share with you, which sort of stood out for me from the evening, where I actually called ace-10 off in the big blind after a recreational players opening in the button, so share that. And then I thought also what I would do would be to just have a look at some of my thought processes around my raise first in sizes and strategies based on the table environment, stack sizes, who's sitting where, just to give you some insight into that side of my game. And your raise first in, your pre-flop, is one of the most important parts of your poker strategy foundation. Here's the hand. So folds around to villain on the button and opens to 10, and then actions on me. Sometimes against a good reg or a pro, ace-10 off here might be worth a 3-bet bluff, but against a recreational player, your 3 bets out of the blind should really be linear and quite strong. So I just decided to call and then evaluate. The flop comes down very interesting here. Ace high with the flush draw. I've actually got 2 pair, so a pretty strong hand, which I'd be potentially looking at check raising if the player on the button here actually bets small. But what happens is he bets 15 into 20, and then I decide to just call that. That's quite a strong bet here on the ace high flop, so I just call. His range is pretty wide here. He could have sets. He could have a straight, could have flush draws, could have combo draws, could have all sorts of potentially strong hands, but I'm still worth a call here with my 2 pair. The turn is 7 of clubs, bringing in a flush draw as well. Now, normally, after I check this, players, when the flush comes in, often will bet small if they have the flush, or sometimes even check back. But this particular player actually bet 35, which was into a pot of, so given about like 75% bet. That's actually a pretty strong bet on the flush completing turn. I do decide to call again for another street here, just in case he's just pushing potentially his hand too much. But that's a pretty strong bet, and I think if he actually triple barrels on the river, depending on what the actual river card is, then I may well be folding here. And lo and behold, it comes in the King of Hearts on the river, so that actually completes a nice straight with a queen. Improves, maybe he's could have ace king here. Obviously ace queen brings in a straight. He still could have a flush or potentially better 2 pair than me, and I check, and he actually bets 70 into 120 odd. So again, just over half pot. Recreational players like this, very unlikely to put in a triple barrel bluff, particularly on these sorts of really scary boards. He's bet over half pot. I don't really know him well enough to know whether or not he's actually capable of bluffing, but I think my 2 pair now is really quite significantly downgraded. So I went through my bluffing checklist and felt that there weren't enough positive ticks in the boxes to make this a call, so I actually let it go and I folded, losing the pot. And now just to have a quick look at some of those pre-flop decisions on when I decide to raise and the bet sizes that I choose when I do raise. In this first example, I'm here on the hijack, and the table is basically full of recreational players, and importantly, the 2 players in the blinds are both quite deep. They've got 200 big blinds each, and the players behind, particularly on the button, who would be another important player I'd be looking at here, is also quite deep at 250 big blinds. Now, I have got Queen 8 here, and I'm going to raise first in as it folds to me, and the size I use here would be £12, so 6x. Now, basically, I go that large in these situations this deep because I'd feel pretty confident that the players in the blinds and possibly on the big blind are going to be fairly inelastic to that bet size. So they may well overcall with weaker hands. I'm unlikely to get 3-bet by the button, and I'm probably going to be playing in position against 1 or maybe 2 of the players in the blinds, and Queen 8 is not a bad hand to have in a multi-way pot 3-way playing in position. And also it's quite important to try to build big pots, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here. A lot of players will tend to have standard opening sizes of whatever they may be at 1-2, so they might be £7, £8, £10, but they don't vary those sizes. Some players will also vary their bet sizes depending on their hand strength, and if you're actually very observant, soon you get to understand the sort of range of hands they're opening more with, depending on what you see at showdown and where they're sitting around the table. In this second example, the table configuration is the same. It's all recreational players. I'm in the hijack again, but this time in the blinds, the two recreational players are much shallower stacks. So one's about 100 big blinds and the other one's less than that. And in this situation, I'd be tightening up my opening range. So I would not be opening probably Queen 8 here, and using a sort of similar suited hand example, I would probably tighten up a little bit more towards about King 9, just because the stacks are shallower. I would be looking to have hands with higher pip values in order to give me a better opportunity of out-pipping the players in the blinds should they call, and the bet sizing I would use would be slightly less than 12, so I open about 10, which is about 5x, because that gives me slightly more playability against the shallower stacks if I need to get into betting lines or three streets of value type lines. It just gives me a bit more flexibility to play post flop. So I tighten my range and my bet sizing will come down slightly. In this final example, a slightly different table configuration. So again, I'm actually on the hijack again here, but in the blinds we have a decent try-and recreational thoughtful player and a pro actually in the big blind. Both of those are 200 big blinds deep, and it folds to me, and in this situation I would be prepared to open up slightly wider in my range here, so 8-7, but I would also look to reduce my bet sizing as well. The main reason being is that I'm potentially going to be subject to more three betting from the blinds by the two players in the blinds, but also they will be themselves more sensitive to the bet sizing, and they won't necessarily overcall with weaker inelastic hands. So this sort of moves back more towards sort of normal situations you might see, you know, online, and basically you're trying to not, you don't necessarily have as much edge post flop against better players, so you have to be aware of that and try to play accordingly. Fundamentally, your pre-flop strategy, your raise first in strategy, and by the way, don't limp, please don't limp, we can talk about that in due course, but your raise first in strategy should be really quite fluid and reflect the table dynamics that you're faced with in every single hand, and it needs to vary and be adaptable to try to give you the highest EV opportunity every time that you look at your cards and you feel that you can actually raise. So you need to be aware of where the players are, where you are, and think about what the incentives of your hand are in that situation in terms of how large you can actually bet, how small you might need to bet depending on how aggressive the players are or passive they are, or whether or not they're recreational or regulars or pros. So you just need to bear that in mind and think it through before you put any chips into the middle. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and looking forward to catching up again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.